Hey guys, welcome back to my low-tech, no-tech video channel. I've been embarrassed a little bit. I guess I should admit that watch other people's YouTube videos and they have multiple camera angles and all kinds of editing, and I got my little iPhone here, set it on the stand, turn on the overhead light, no microphone, no editing. If I mess up, it either stays in or I just do the video over. Really ought to improve on all that. You know, I just wanted to see how this went anyway before I put any more stuff into it. Today, what I'm going to be talking about, I'm actually probably going to do 2 videos today. I've been wanting to do these for a few weeks now. I had told some people I'd be putting this up a few weeks ago and ended up with a little bit of a personal issue that came up and was out of town for a couple of weeks. And I just got back into town a few days ago and got things settled enough where I felt like I could get this taken care of. And what I want to talk about today in this first video is my experiences with the S15 magazines. I haven't done very many videos and I don't have all that many people who watch them, but what I have found is the ones where I've talked about these S15 magazines for my Glock 48 have been the most popular and most commented on and sometimes most controversial videos I've done, because there are a lot of people with different viewpoints on them, and I just want to share mine. I'm not going to argue with anybody else about theirs. I'm just simply sharing my experience and my viewpoint on what I have what I believe about them. And they go in I have a Glock 48 MOS, and I'm going to make another video where I talk a little bit more about this today. So if you want to hear more about my Glock 48 MOS, and I also have a Glock 43, and well, this is the 43, Glock 43, and a Glock 26, and a Glock 42. And I'm going to talk about which one I carry now and why, and which ones I have carried, and my view on concealed carry for all of these. I've concealed carried all of them. And anyway, that's another video. In this video, hopefully this is my last video that I'll make about the S15 magazines. I'm not promising that if more issues come up, but I'm hoping this is my last video. You can go back and look at my previous ones, but basically what I say is I originally got these. This is a Gen 1 S15, and I bought this, actually received this before I got my Glock 48. The Glock 48 was hard for me to get for a while. It was unavailable, and I've ordered one and waited a few months to receive it. And in the meantime, I ordered and received these Gen 1 magazines, S15 magazines, and all the reviews I had watched on them up to then had been very positive. Everybody had had very positive things to say about them. That didn't stay that way though, but at the time I ordered this, all I had seen was very positive reviews about these magazines, and I liked the philosophy or the thought behind it because they carry 15 rounds. The stock Glock magazines for this pistol only carry 10 rounds, and it's not like my Glock 26 that I can put some huge ridiculous thing like this or just Glock 19 15 round magazines in. So the only option really was, you know, some people were coming out with some extenders and things like that. I didn't want something that stuck way out of the bottom of the gun, and this just seemed like the perfect solution. So I ordered, I think I just ordered one of these initially to see how it would work. And I also ordered the S15. Well, they didn't have it. Let me take that back. This is the S15 magazine pouch, but they didn't have these available when I bought this. So I ordered a more universal magazine pouch from We the People, and I had that. So anyway, I received my gun, took it to the range and started testing it, and I didn't have any feed issues with this magazine. I know a lot of people have complained about feed issues. I did not have them. It operated just fine. The only complaint I had was it would not drop free from my pistol when I hit the magazine release, and that's still the case. I'm pressing the magazine release and have to pull it out. Didn't like that. Frustrated me, and everybody started telling me about these hair dryer solutions, fixes and things like that I could do. And in the meantime, Shield Arms came out with the Gen 2 magazine. So I just ordered one because I wasn't sure how they would do, and took it to the range, and I, again, had no feed issues. But I didn't have any feed issues with this one either, quite honestly, even though a lot of people have documented on YouTube that they did. I did not. Took this to the range, ran several rounds through it, a few hundred rounds through it, had no issue with it, and it does, as you see, drop free. So it fixed that problem. They are hard to load. The spring is very tight. It has gotten some better. A lot of people have recommended magazine loaders. I have not used, haven't purchased one. I can load 15 in by hand, and it motivated me to buy these grip strengtheners, and I've been using those, and because I felt like it wouldn't hurt to have stronger grip anyway. So anyway, I'm an advocate of really testing something thoroughly before you carry it and possibly risk your life, use it to defend your life. And so I decided I'd tested it fairly thoroughly, but I wanted to test the magazines a little bit more. So I just made a trip a couple of weeks ago, just before I went out of town, and put 300 more rounds through this magazine into this pistol, and had zero issues, none. I also ran the stock magazines and had no issues with them either. So my intent is to carry this pistol with this magazine, and I'll probably order another one of these, but until I receive the other one, I will carry the stock 10 round as a backup. For a long time, for 27 years, I carried a Glock 19 concealed carry on a daily basis as part of my job, and I carried a double magazine holder and two 15-round Glock 19 magazines. So I had 46 rounds on me at all the time, two 15-round magazines, 15-round magazine in the gun, and then one in the chamber. So that was a lot to carry, and I don't plan to carry 46 rounds now, although I've talked to some people who say 46 isn't enough. And I've spoken personally with one person in particular, this police officer in Chicago that used all of his. And he advocates, that's the reason he had carried a 40 cal and he went back to the 9 because he can get more rounds, and he felt that more rounds was more important. It's not the purpose of this video today. Anyway, I'll just say that I am confident I have put probably about 500 rounds through this one magazine, through this pistol, and I have had zero issues. I have put, I don't know, not as many, but a couple of hundred rounds through this one, and I've had no issues with it feeding either, but I'm not going to carry it just because it doesn't drop and I want it to drop. I'll use it at the range. But this one, and when I get the new one, I'll test it too, just because there's been so much controversy. Honestly, I haven't always put this much testing into my stock Glock magazines. I've never had any issue with the stock Glock magazine, though. I carried the same magazines for years and years and years, and they still fed reliably, even to the point where I finally took them apart and the springs in them were just shot. And I ordered new springs from Glock and put new springs in those Glock 19 magazines because I never unloaded them. I kept them loaded for years. I mean, literally years, 10, 15 years. And that did ruin the spring in them. But amazingly enough, they were still feeding reliably when I replaced the spring, which amazed me because that spring was not much of a spring anymore. But anyway, so I haven't had issues with Glock magazines ever. Probably wouldn't hurt just to make sure that they do work before I carry them, though. And I have. These do work fine. I will address one additional thing briefly, and that is that I've had several comments from people saying that they would not carry, even if they work fine, it seems like they wouldn't carry anything that's not stock on a carry gun. And so these would be okay for the range, but they would only use the Glock magazines to actually carry. Listen, if that's what you're comfortable doing, then sure, that's fine. I don't want to argue with you about that. I will just tell you my thought process. My thought process is that every Glock I have ever carried has had some modification made to it. I have never carried a completely stock Glock pistol. Even my agency issued Glock 19, I had two of them over the 27 years. They were not completely stock. My agency made minor modifications, put different trigger mechanisms in them, and we had no issue. And it was never a concern, never anything anybody worried about. When I started purchasing my own Glock pistols, I realized that I liked the extended slide release, extended slide stop. I have also sometimes put a larger magazine. I said magazine release, slide lock. I have put different trigger parts in them, different springs, different. I'm no expert on all that, but I've put different parts in them to make. I'm not a big fan, honestly, of the stock Glock trigger, and I have done things to make them smoother to me and just help me with my accuracy in shooting, and I've never had an issue with any of those. And I have thoroughly tested everything. I take it to the range. I shoot hundreds of rounds through them, and I've never had a problem. Never been a legal issue. Some people talk about legal issues. I don't know where they're getting that. I don't know if that's just attorneys trying to make money or people. In all my experience in law enforcement and just as a citizen, I'm not aware. I'm not saying they're not out there, but I am not aware of a single case where a modification, a simple modification to a pistol, was the question of whether someone should go to jail or not. I suppose, especially when you're modifying triggers, that you could get into a situation where you made the trigger so light that you had an accidental discharge and you shot someone when you didn't mean to. That's not what I'm talking about, though. I mean, I've never heard of that either, but because different pistols just have different trigger pulls anyway. I don't know what legally would be considered a safe trigger pull and legally wouldn't be. The trigger pulls on 1911s are extremely light, lighter than any modified Glock trigger I've ever shot. And so, single action pistols like the 1911 just have very light trigger pulls. I've got a revolver that's a double action, single action revolver, and you cock that hammer and it doesn't take much to trigger that, to make the gun shoot. So I just don't see those being issues legally. I've just never seen it. It's always been whether you had a legal right to shoot the person or not, and that doesn't have anything to do with your trigger. Again, I guess if your defense was, I didn't mean to shoot him or shoot that person and my trigger pull was too light, okay, we may have some arguments there. But when we're getting into the minor modifications that I've made, which have lightened the trigger pull but not anywhere near what a 1911 trigger pull is, and just made the gun more ergonomic to me. Change sights all the time. I mean, so when people make the comments that shouldn't carry anything that's not stock, I wonder if they've replaced the sights on their Glock. Most everybody does, or whatever. And when it comes to just magazines specifically, 1911, some of them that you buy don't even come with magazines manufactured by the people who made the gun. They don't make magazines. You end up buying magazines from a variety of manufacturers, and it's just not an issue. So anyway, that's my view on it. I have no qualms of carrying this pistol with this magazine. I don't have any qualms having the parts I've traded out. Some are Glock parts, some are not Glock parts. They're made for the Glock. That's just my view. You're certainly welcome to yours. So anyway, I will be carrying this with this and not worrying about it in the least. And hopefully we won't need to revisit this. I will say that when I was inserting these magazines into my S15 magazine holder, they fit differently. The Gen 1 and the Gen 2 is tighter, fits tighter, which would make sense, right? Because it's the one that doesn't drop out of the mag well. So they somehow made the Gen 2 ones, I mean, they look the same, but, well, they're very slight differences, very slight. It's tiny bit narrower, and the opening at the top is slightly different, but very, very similar. So anyway, guys, hope this has been helpful to you. Most of the people I've heard from are very happy with their S15 magazines. There are a few who aren't. I would say that please test yours in your pistol. There may be some variation between the Glock pistols and these magazines, and that may be the cause of the problem. I couldn't answer that. But best of luck to you, and have a great day, and I'm out.